Welcome to Mending Souls Lesson 1. I am so grateful that you are here. I am excited to spend the next 12 weeks with you. And I'm really just honored that you are trusting me with this small step in your journey of recovery and healing and growth. Um, I don't take that lightly, and I treasure that. Um, so to start out this week, I wanted to first of all do some orientation so you would know what to expect. Um, so first of all, this whole thing is still very much in development. Still trying to feel out what works and what doesn't. I've put a lot of thought how I designed it. I have tried to think of everything, but obviously it's not going to be perfect. And so what I really invite you to do is let me know what you see could go better, what could be done better on the user end of this. So if you have any feedback for me or questions or concerns or just things I can improve, feel free to message me on Instagram or on Discord. I would love that. That will help me so much going forward because I do hope to offer this course again and again. Also, by way of orientation, this course is literally designed to talk about hard things. And so before we talk about any of those hard things, I want us to have a plan for what to do with the big feelings that come up. How are we going to care for our body? How are we going to make space for that? So what I'd like you to do is just jot down a list of things that you can do when your body is, when the trauma is like causing your body to hurt, or when you have anxiety, or when you just have big feelings, right? So this might be going for a walk. This might be calling a friend, or taking a nap, or taking an Epsom salt bath, or going for a massage, or talking to your therapist. Whatever these things are, go ahead and make a list, put it someplace you can see it. Maybe it's a note on your phone. Maybe it's on the wall in your bedroom, on the mirror in your bathroom, somewhere where you can see it, because we know these feelings are going to happen and we want to be prepared for them. But like once they start happening, we might not remember how a person even takes care of themselves. And so we want to have a plan for that. Okay. Number 3, this is not therapy. I'm not a therapist. This isn't therapy. This is mentoring. This is community. This is hopefully friendship. This is hopefully us being the church, being the body of Christ to one another, but this is not therapy. This partners really, really well with therapy. So those things that bring up the emotion are amazing things to take to your therapist if you see a therapist or counselor, and talk to them about. So let's talk about the elements of this course. So there's 4 key elements. The first one is the homework. Then we've got the Discord group. We've got these lessons. And then we have the Zoom calls. So the lesson part will post each week to Discord. There will be a channel for each week, and it will have a resource list, and it will have a playlist, and it will also have your homework and this lesson. So the lessons will vary in length. I'm going to try to keep them short. Some of them will include kind of like deep dives like I do on Instagram. I will always do them with video in case that helps you feel more connected and just like have a more personal vibe. But I also want you to be able to like pop your earbuds in and just listen as if it's a podcast, if that's what's easier for you, because I don't want this to be a burden. I want it to be very accessible and an easy part of your life, right? The actual like doing of the work to do the work, if that makes sense. Now let's talk about the homework. So each week, the homework is a list of journaling prompts. If you are not a journaler, that's okay. You can um, like use the video on your phone or like Marco Polo yourself and just talk through them. You leave yourself audio messages talking through them. You can process them with someone else, like on Marco Polo or in person or whatever. Um, I do, or you can go for a long walk and like talk about them with God. Um, you don't have to journal. So that's number one. It doesn't have to be like paper and pencil. Number two is you don't have to do all of them. In fact, I don't want you to do all of the journal prompts every week because here's the thing. So first of all, we want to stop when we hit gold. So as we're journaling, going through the list and, whether you're leaving yourself a voice message or writing it down on paper, your thoughts, when it starts stirring up emotion, I want you to stop. I don't want you to like be a perfectionist or a rule follower or try to like get to all of them. I want you to stop when you hit that emotion because that emotion is the goal. That emotion is something we need to get curious about, start asking questions, inspect. We don't need to worry about the rest of the questions. This is where I want us to spend our time. And so journal more about it, ask yourself more questions about it, and then bring other people in, whether that's on Discord or in our Zoom call or save people that you have in your life. Or, if you connect really well with one of the other women in this group, reaching out and maybe having a Marco Polo or a phone call conversation with her or someone else in your life. Okay, so that's number one. But number two is at the end of this course, you are going to get a PDF with all of the entire workbook, all of the journal prompts from all of the weeks. This is because I know you're not going to get through all of the journal prompts during these 12 weeks, and I don't want you to. This workbook will go with you going forward. You can take your time, go through it at your pace. You can go through it annually if you want to. You can refer back to it, whatever you want to do. These journaling prompts will remain, so there's no need to rush through them right now. So we're going to stop when we hit those big emotions and then process them by yourself and then in therapy or with other people and in community and in the Discord and the Zoom call. Let's see. Okay. So the next piece is the Discord piece. So this is where we are going to be building community. We are going to be, here's the thing. Everyone has limited time and limited energy. For you, if your energy and time is limited enough that you are having to make a choice between doing the journaling prompts, the homework, and interacting on Discord and focusing on the building relationships part of this cohort, I actually want you to favor the building relationships because here's the thing. If you listen to the lesson, your subconscious, your mind is going to be processing these things. The journaling will help that. But you will be processing, you'll be getting stuff out of it. And then in the Discord conversations and on the Zoom call conversations, your brain is going to be there. Your soul is going to be working through these things. But we only have 12 weeks together. And what I really want you to walk away from this course with is, yes, that workbook that you can take with you, that you can continue to do this work, this internal work with. But also, I want you to walk away with a bunch of friends. I want you to walk away with a bunch of safe people. I want you to walk away with people that you can call up when something happens. And so I want you to focus on getting to know people, figuring out okay, who do I want to be like a Marco Polo friend with? Who do I want to share my phone number with? What couple of people am I gelling with well? Who lives close to me? And Maybe I can like go visit them, um, get coffee with them or something. Those kinds of things I think are really important. And so in Discord, like talk, interact with each other, listen to each other, respond to each other. Uh, Everyone will get more out of this cohort the more interaction there is on Discord. And the last piece is the Zoom calls. So these will happen weekly, they will last an hour and a half. And I've decided to record the lesson part to give us all of that time to talk. I want everyone to have space and time and a chance to share. If you can't make every Zoom call, it's not a big deal because you will have still heard the lesson, you've gotten to interact with others about it on Discord. It'll be okay. Yeah, so those are the 4 parts. So the big goal with this 12-week course is to give you a sense of safety and community and rest, a place where you get to be honest about how you're doing, about how your soul is. You get to be weak and needy and know that that is going to be honored. So let's do our first deep dive. And this lesson is about God's gift to us of safety and rest, and his invitation to us to be weak and needy. And if you follow me on Instagram, you know that it's going to be about the law because that's where my heart is right now. So first of all, our culture has a lot of ideas about what Sabbath is. And there's so many things that we can talk about Sabbath, but let's just talk very practically. What did people do on the Sabbath? They feasted, they rested, they napped, they spent time bonding with each other, like developing relationships with each other. And they spent time playing. And God called them to do this for an entire 24 hours, 1 day a week, to set aside time to be humans apart from work and chores and responsibility, to get to have their cups filled and take care of their body and take care of their soul and their heart and their relationships, and to take a nap and to play and be silly and not serious. Yeah, God invites us to rest. He invites us to be silly. He invites us to be playful and to spend time doing unimportant things. In fact, you could argue that he commands us to, right? Like we're not under the law, but he still told us that he values our rest. And that's still something we should act like it matters, right? So the second thing that I want to talk about isn't actually a law, but it happened at the same time as the law. So the Israelite people had been enslaved for 400 years, and it was a horrible slavery. They were greatly oppressed. They they had hard labor. And then God saves them. He brings them out to the wilderness, and he's provided well for them. On their way out, they were able to acquire tons of livestock and food and jewels and gold and all these things from the Egyptians. So they wanted for nothing. And this is where a lot of times Bible stories will start talking about how ungrateful the Israelites were and how they grumbled and complained. And I have found that it is more helpful to turn our eyes away from the humans and look at God and see what he does. He sends manna. They were already provided for. They already had food. But he sends manna from heaven, this bread from heaven. And you guys, it's not just about God giving them food. It's a gift of time. It's a gift that honors the trauma they've been through. Let me explain. So, how much time a week do you think you spend thinking about, preparing, planning, acquiring, cooking, cleaning up from food. It's probably a whole lot of hours, right? What if someone took that entire thing off your plate? You don't have to cook, you don't have to clean up, you don't have to think about food, you don't have to prepare food, you don't have to acquire food. It's just all gone. It's its own form of liberation from slavery, slavery to food, being enslaved to the absolute, unending, relentless need to feed people. It is always another mealtime. There's never a time when we're not dominated by having to eat, right? And so God just takes that all away in one fell swoop. It's like He's saying, you guys have been enslaved for 400 years. You need time to rest and to heal and to process that. And you need time to build your relationships with each other in now that you're not in survival mode, right? To build them in a new way. You need time to connect with parts of yourself that were not allowed to exist, that we're not able to exist in that oppression you are under. I want you to develop play and interests and hobbies and to be creative. I'm giving you hours and hours a day that you just get to have now to do what you want, to have autonomy, to have um, time to do what you want. And the food is delicious. Your children can collect it. You don't have to cook it. You don't have to clean up from it. If you want to cook it because that's fun for you, you can make cakes out of it. But it's just always going to be there. You don't have to worry about it. It's this gift and honoring of our weakness. It's inviting the Israelites to take this time and rest and be weak and be needy and be served by God. He's literally setting the table for them, right? And then we have the period rest, which is where the women in the nation of Israel, for a week, a month, would be sent outside of the camp so that while they were on their period. And this was about getting away from responsibilities. You take care of people all the time. But then when you're on your period, you get to go out to the camp where all the other women are who are on their periods, who are giving birth to babies. And you get to rest where no one needs you to take care of them. You don't have to be super vigilant about sanitization and cleaning up after yourself. You get to bleed in peace. And that's on top of the Sabbath rest. God actually invites women into an extra layer of weakness and neediness because He knows how strong we have to be all the time. And He knows how much of the effects of the brokenness of the world happens inside our bodies, right? Like how much our bodies go through that our bodies were not created for. We were not created for the life and death, for the death that happens in our bodies when just all the sadness and grief that women bear in their bodies, right? And so He gives an extra invitation to women to be weak and to be needy and to rest and to enter into community with each other. The beautiful gift of periods is that women start to sync up with their friends and their sisters and their mothers, so that you're going to be with your friends when you're out there in the women's camp. And it's a beautiful gift. I don't think outside of this idea, women have ever really had that throughout history, not consistently, certainly. And on top of that, God also provides maternity and miscarriage rest. So if you have a baby, you are excused. Well, first of all, you're excused from all household duties. You get to go to women's camp and rest and be nourished and cared for by the other women, by midwives. Um, and if you have a miscarriage, you get the same amount of time resting and the same care. Again, it's an invitation, it's a recognition of God, it's a recognition from God of some of the experiences that women go through, and Him honoring it and inviting us um, to rest and be needy and to take time and space. And yeah, all of that rest, whether it's period rest or having given birth to a baby or having a miscarriage or stillbirth, all of them include you don't have to go to temple or tabernacle. In fact, you can't go. Like, I want you to take care of you. I want your community to take care of you. I'll still be here when you come back. We're good. You take care of yourself, heal up, um, talk to your friends, let your friends care for you. And when you have rested, once you've cared for yourself, after that, after you've cared for yourself, then you can come. Then I want you to come and I will invite you to come. And actually, we're going to have a meal together. We're going to get to that next week. I'm getting ahead of myself. But in addition to that, in the nation of Israel, if someone close to you died, you get permission to not go to temple or tabernacle for an entire year. You get to grieve and process all that stuff. You can still, you can still go and talk to God, but you don't have to go to the services. You don't have to go be with all the other people. You don't have to put on your performance face. You get to be sad and not want to go and not want to be around people. And again, it's this invitation from God to enter into the fullness of our weakness and our neediness. It's God recognizing and making space for that over and over and over again. And the beautiful thing is, instead of saying, oh, well, you need to rely on me, He's actually saying, I'm okay, I'm good. You take care of yourself and let the community take care of you. And that is me taking care of you, because I've been discipling this community to know to care for you in these ways. When they are serving you, I am serving you, right? You don't need to come and anxiously tend to your relationship with me and make sure that we're still on good terms. You get to mourn, you get to grieve, you get to be angry about the death or the stillbirth or the fact that your period's here again and you're not pregnant again, or whatever it is, right? God designed a whole culture that would honor neediness and weakness, but our culture doesn't. And this is why we need to actively be carving out safe spaces where we can honor that brokenness and that neediness and give and obey God's call on us to rest and to experience safety. He doesn't want us constantly just having to trust Him, and He wants us to have genuine rest. He wants us to be at peace, not constantly in this fight, flight, freeze. So let's talk about safe spaces. We all need them. We all need a chance to be the weaker brother. We are not God, and our bodies cannot bear the weight of being perfect and strong all the time. In fact, I would love for you to take time to think about what has happened to your body as a result of trying to be strong all the time, or of not being allowed to be weak, or of not being given the space and the safety to mourn or be angry or process or rest during or be nourished through the things that have happened to you. Um, so we're going to create some safe places. The first thing we're going to talk about is, how do we know if a place is safe or not? What are the qualities of a safe place? And so, first and foremost, a safe place is going to have boundaries and expectations. This is like, in order to feel safe anywhere, you're going to need to be able to know like where you are, where the limits of it are. Like there's walls to keep what's out, and like nothing can come in. And there's expectations, like you know how the situation works, you know how the environment that you are in works. So I want to talk about some of the boundaries and expectations I have for this group so that it can be a safe place for all of us. First of all, we know who's here. It is a limited group, but that extends to not sharing things that are shared in here outside of the group. We need to know who is hearing us. It is just the people here. To that end, you're going to be getting a document that I want you to sign that is basically a privacy agreement, just again, to keep it safe. It's going to have a lot of these different elements in it. But no screenshotting stuff in Discord, no talking to people outside of the group about things that are shared in the group. And another thing I'm going to do to keep everything safe is at the end of the 12 weeks, I'm going to delete this Discord. I don't want there to be any concern about what is going to happen with your words, with the things you shared after the group is, after the cohort is finished. So it's going to be deleted, and that's okay. You know, this is just going to provide safety for everyone. Another aspect of a safe community is one that respects your autonomy and your gut, your instincts, and allows you to develop trust. So we are not going to be demanding a certain level of vulnerability from one another. You get to decide how much you are willing to share at a given time. For those of us who have been in spiritually abusive or just really unhealthy church situations, a lot of us are not going to know how to honor our gut, how to trust our gut, how to make people earn our trust, and how to even like recognize when we are trusting someone or when we're just feeling obliged, right? And so one of the things I want to practice over the next 12 weeks is taking a step back before you share anything and asking, does this feel right in my body to share this with these people? And if there's some people that you feel more comfortable with than others, ask them for their phone number or share Marco Polo and start a conversation. Because again, I want these conversations to continue with you after the 12 weeks. And so, yes, start developing those relationships. To move so my laptop could be charging. Okay, so you get to develop trust, and we're going to work on those muscles. If for some reason you're feeling uncomfortable, you're not feeling safe to share, if you feel safe, please share that with me so that if there's an issue, I can address it, so that I can help you with that, okay? I want to do everything I can to make this be a safe place for you. So that's pillar number one. Simultaneously, it's also important for us to be weak and to take a risk on people. We are created for community. We need people, we need support. And so while you're also supposed to be honoring your gut, there's also a need to be vulnerable, which is going to invite risk. Anytime we're in a relationship with people, it comes with risk. And so you're going to have to balance that for yourself. And you're going to know, like, are you more of a like reserved person who needs to be pushed to trust people, to put yourself out there to be vulnerable, or are you more of an open book like myself, and you like start spilling your guts to everyone, even people who haven't like proven themselves as trustworthy yet, or in fact, who may have been actively proving themselves to be not trustworthy, that you think that if you're just vulnerable, all of a sudden they're just like you. Anyway, that's my trauma. So, if you feel like you have something that you really want to process, but you don't feel safe sharing it in the group yet, you want to like try it out first, again, you can message one of the other girls in here that you do feel safe with, or you can message myself. You can voice message me on Instagram or just text me there, text message me there. You can message me on Discord, or you can send me a Marco Polo. There's so many ways to get in touch with me. Your gut is a gift. When you start to feel uncomfortable or you feel like there's red flags, I don't want you to assume that is wrong. I have a feeling that is going to be a big problem for a lot of people who come through this course. Your gut is a gift. God wants to protect you, and part of how he protects you is by giving you this gut. It is sometimes the Holy Spirit, and sometimes it's just wisdom, common sense, whatever. Get curious about it. If you sense red flags or you start to feel uncomfortable, instead of assuming that it's wrong, get curious about it. Figure out, why might I be feeling this way? What happened? Yeah. How, and then after you've understood it, then be like, okay, do I think that's fair? Do I think that's valid? Makes sense? Let's see. Okay, so another thing that makes a safe place is that it is filled with people who are dedicated to being both good listeners and good sharers. So here's my rules for this cohort, as it relates to listening. So first of all, we're going to listen silently. So this mostly applies to our Zoom calls. When someone is talking, we are not going to interrupt them. Especially in a group like this, where so many people have had their voices erased for a long time, have been told what they think, and that they don't feel what they feel, and all of these things. Valuing their voice, showing them that you value their voice by listening silently, not interrupting them, is going to do mounds of good. Okay, so I'm gonna be pretty strict about the not interrupting thing, because the women in this group, by and large, have not had their voices honored. And so we're gonna honor each other's voices, okay? The second thing is we're gonna listen actively. This is another way to show that we value the person who's talking. So as we're listening, we're going to be, after they finish talking, we're going to ask good questions. We're going to help that person dig deeper into what's going on with them. We're going to learn how to become people who ask good questions that lead people into further introspection, and hopefully help them gain greater awareness and understanding of themselves, stuff that happened to them, people they are, like their abusers, whatever it is, right? We're going to ask good questions. We're also not going to give advice unless it's specifically asked for. This is always important as a good listener, but again, especially in this group, it is going to be, many of us have been lectured and brutalized by advice from well-meaning Christians for a very long time. And so we want to honor the person who is talking and their autonomy and not put them through that unless they ask for it. Okay. Um, okay, so another one that's a really big deal, especially in this group. It's always important, but especially in this group. We're not going to put a silver bow on everything. Actually, we're not going to put a silver bow on anything. Okay. Someone is sharing and it's a real downer. Like it's sad or it's angering or it's, it stirs up negative feelings. We are not going to give into the anxiety that wants to drive us to say to like make it feel better, to bring the temperature of the room up, right? Um, we're not going to try and be like, oh, but God has a plan, or, but God is good, or, well, at least it was not this, like you should be happy because it wasn't this. We're not going to try and change the person's emotions. We are going to acknowledge, we're going to observe the emotion they have, and then we're going to enter it into it with them. And we are going to let them feel what they feel. We don't have to try and change that. And again, many of the people in this group are here because believers have not felt appropriate feelings about the things they've experienced. They have thought that the stuff that happened to them was not that important, or that it was just a misunderstanding, or, well, at least they were trying their best and you can't blame them for not being perfect. And, well, how can you expect, humans to properly, like perfectly imitate God? Like, no, we're not going to do any of that. Okay. And another thing we're going to do is we are going to have a group where it's safe to say that hurt my feelings. So if someone responds in a way that feels like it's invalidating or spiritually bypassing or shaming or something else, you can say, I didn't like the way that felt. And you can just say, I didn't like the way that felt. You don't have to know why you didn't like the way that felt. The rest of us can speak to that for you if you let us, And we can also get good at keeping people safe, right? So if we see someone invalidating or spiritually bypassing or lecturing, we can gently and kindly remind them of the rules, so that we keep this place safe, right? So that we can really grow together. Does that make sense? If you have any questions, please message me. So God has made all this space and room for our brokenness, for our weakness, for our neediness. But because of where the church is at right now and whatever experiences have led you to this moment, I would wager, I put a lot of money on the fact that most of us have not had safe places, had places where we could truly be vulnerable and be honest about our weakness and our need. We've not had adequate rest. We've not been able to heal, to grieve, to go through all these emotions. So that's what we're going to do here. Let's see, what else? There's a lot of questions this week. Before I finish, I just want you to think about some of the things in your life that you've been through. How many things in your life have you been through that you've never gotten to rest you've never gotten to experience rest while going through those things, right? Like you've never gotten to be needy or weak in your suffering. You've never gotten to be cared for by a community. You've never gotten to be loved and nourished by a community of women. And maybe you've had moments of that. I want this to be another moment of that. Like, I can't recreate Israel, right? But we, as a group of women, can look at what God values and what He created in the Old Testament law, what He offered the women in His nation, and we can try and take those values and understand them and let them transform us and create a safe place here for each other. Okay? So this week, go through those journal prompts. Stop when you get to gold. Did I talk about this yet? I feel like I missed something. So when you're going through the homework, I don't expect you to do all of the questions. In fact, I expect you not to. I want you to stop as you're going through the questions. The first time it triggers some emotions, I want you to stop and spend time in that. And that's all you're going to do. So, yeah, you might not get very far, and that's okay. You're going to have, at the end of this 12-week course, you are going to have all of these questions in a PDF as a workbook to take with you going forward into your life. And so there's no rush. There's no rush to answer all of these questions right now. Do what you can and journal. Once you start bringing up emotions, stop going through the questions and just focus on that one question. Then when you're ready, once you've done some internal processing, if you want to talk to God about it, if you feel like that's the next step for you, do that. Otherwise, come into Discord and talk to us and talk to us about it in the Zoom call this week. Yeah, I look forward so much to hearing from you guys there, interacting with you guys in Discord and Zoom. And I think that's it for now.